I'm Megan, and thank you for meeting with me here on my channel. Today's practice is a somatic yoga practice that's going to address all of the joints in your legs, including your feet, your ankles, your knees, as well as your hips and your back. So I'm calling it juicy leg joints for healthy hips and beautiful back. Because what I find is that oftentimes, if we have hip pain or back pain, we can't only address the hips and back. It's oftentimes the legs that we may have some tightness or issues in. So we're really going to be working mainly through the leg joints. So what you're going to need for this, just two things, but important things, are a tea towel folded up, as well as finding some surface that is slippery. So no shag carpet, no rugs, something that you can slide your hand on. And then you'll notice that I have my mat. It's hidden underneath here, folded in half. So that gives me some extra padding, first of all. But then I put a blanket on top of it because I really want it to feel nice and soft underneath my torso as we work through the legs. So we're going to start down on our back and take your time. And if you like a pillow or something underneath your head, you're welcome to bring that as well. I've got a blanket here. But we start by doing what we call landing and locating. So if it's comfortable, extend your legs out. If there's any pulling in your low back, you're welcome to keep your knees bent and feet on the floor. But just feel any parts of your body that are touching the ground, whether it be the backs of the heels and your calves, the soles of the feet, back of the pelvis and the spine, shoulders, maybe the arms, the base of the skull. Just notice when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. And every breath out, imagine that the back body is just landing into the ground. It's falling with gravity. No need to push it. You're just accepting that support of the ground underneath all of those parts of the body that are touching it. Take a few more breaths. Then we're going to be starting today with our right leg. So we're going to locate ourselves in the right leg. And see if you can take your mind's eye down so that you can see your toes in your right leg, the foot, the ankle, the lower leg, the shin and the calf, right? The knee, and up through the front and the back of the thigh and all the way to the hip. Just notice what you can notice in your right leg. Also sense if there's any difference between the right and the left. Sometimes we have discomfort or pain in just one side. And we'll just do a small warm up before we go into our leg slides, our tea cloth leg slides. So bend your knees, place the feet on the ground, and take just your right leg up towards the sky. You could just let it stay there. If you want to put your hands around the back of the thigh, you're welcome to. Just watch that your shoulders are comfortable. And play with pointing your toes and drawing the top of the foot towards your shin a few times. Just creating a little bit of sensation through this safe, small movement. Noticing when your calf stretches or when it tightens, and your shin, same thing. Then maybe you want to stop and hold one of those positions and just wiggle your toes. Notice what you can notice in the sole of the foot. If you're pointing the toes and wiggling, try it the other way. Draw the top of the foot towards your shin and wiggle your toes. So just a little warm up here. And then you're going to take the foot and draw the arch of the foot towards the inner leg line. We call it inversion. Release it. And then the pinky toe side of the foot towards the outer leg line. Eversion. So we're going to invert and evert. And you're just moving the foot back and forth. And then once you found that, and we've done the point and flex, make some nice circles with the ankle. And just stay present to feel. Joints join two parts of our body. So the ankle joining the foot and the lower leg. And we want both mobility and stability. So noticing how it's moving and what muscles are making that movement or stabilizing that movement. And we'll relax, and we're going to just do a little warm up for the knee joint. So let the lower leg hang. Keep your kneecap right up towards the sky in the front of the hip. So not back here, but thigh bone is 90 degrees from the floor. And then let the lower leg hang and the foot be relaxed, and just take it up and back down. And think of moving from your knee. So I'm not pushing through my foot's relaxed, just acknowledging your knee joint. Doesn't matter how far you go, just warming it up. Do one more with the knee and let it drop. And then you'll feel into your right hip. And this is what I have a body prayer practice for the lower body. This is like an abbreviated version of that. Now you're going to think of your circumference of your hip crease and go all the way around that very slowly. So you can come all the way out to the right side, away from your torso, across the center line of the body, towards your torso. Just see how that feels. Think of that ball and socket joint. You can do smaller, slower motions. You can switch the direction of the motion. And again, I'm cautious that I'm not moving from my lower leg. I'm not kicking. I'm rolling. It's like you're drawing circles with your kneecap, but you're moving from your whole femur bone, that big, strong bone in your thigh. And then we'll take that down. So here comes the fun tea towel part. You're going to take that towel and put it underneath your heel, your right heel. It can be under the ball of the foot as well, but make sure it's under your heel. Left leg can stay bent, or for the sake of you seeing better, I'm going to extend mine, but if that pulls on your low back, keep it bent. So first, just start by pushing the heel into the tea towel. So like you're smushing the tea towel. And notice how when you do that, you can feel just a little bit of muscle activation. And it's always nice to activate the muscles and then move them, because oftentimes it's not the activation that brings in that worry response, it's the movement. So what does it feel like? And you can decide a lot of activation, really pushing down, maybe just minimal. And then push into the heel and begin to start making small circles. Like you're going to clean your floors off, right? You're going to circle around any direction you want. And notice the coordination of the movement in the ankle and the knee and the hip. You can switch the direction of the circles. And just a slight pushing in of the heel, or play with how much pressure you want to make. And then we're going to switch it, and you're going to go out as long as you can, still pressing into the heel, and pull back in. So we go into extension of the right leg and then drag it back in. So I'm finding I might need to move a little bit more forward because I can drag in more then, and I won't run into my blanket, my mat. And once you've done a couple in and out, pushing into the heel, see if you want to switch this now so that you're going to put the ball of the foot more on the towel if it's not there, and push into the ball of the foot. And how does that feel? So right around behind the big toes and here, how does that feel to push into the ground? So get familiar with that sensation first. Be a little more action. I'm really feeling it in my knee. And then pushing slightly into the ball, make those circles again. And this one sometimes can cause some cramping in your calf, so just the right amount of pressure as you make those circles, like you're cleaning the floors. Maybe you are cleaning the floors, but don't get that wet, because then you'll really have a lot of work to do. And making those circles, and then perhaps trying to extend out, keeping the pressure in the ball of the foot. But again, I'd watch for that cramping in the calf. You'll find when we're on the heel, we can go into full extension. When you're on the ball of the foot, you can only go so far. That's okay. Sliding in and out. And then put as much of the whole foot as you can on the cloth. Part of the fun is playing with the cloth with your foot. And now you're going to tip onto the big toe side of the foot, so the arch of the foot. And when you're on the arch of the foot, come back up and then tip onto the little toe side, and just go back and forth a few times. And as you're doing that, push whichever side of your foot is in contact with the towel slightly down. See how that feels? So you're just pushing and rocking back and forth. And then if you want to add a little bit more into this one, you can push down So I've got big toe side down and make some circles, or take it away from the body towards the body. Then you might go to the pinky toe side, take it towards the body, away from the body. You can lengthen it out, right? So there's no set movement. You're just exploring and finding a comfortable, pleasant way to move. Just enough pressure, whether you're pushing into the big toe side, and it might be the big toe mound, it might be more the heel. So where does it feel good to put that pressure in? I'm making those circles. One more round. And then relax the right leg. We're going to be rolling onto our left side. Take your time there, and as you come over, this is another good opportunity to pad your head if you want something underneath your head. And you want to come all the way to the edge of the blanket, that left edge. And then your left leg will extend out just a little bit. And I'm going to start with the big toe side of my foot on the cloth. And once again, I'm just going to push in a little bit. I'm pushing in and then releasing. Pushing in and releasing. And just see, how does that feel in your knee joint and your hip joint? And then push in and see if you can drag the foot towards your head. And then drag it away. Just the right amount of pressure. And you may decide you just want to do a little bit of a bent knee and keep the knee low to start. You can go into full extension here. But this is actually one we sometimes called psoas slide. So this is really good for the psoas. So as you're sliding it up, see if you can lift your inner knee just a little bit. So what we call that is external rotation of the hip. So you're sliding, you're pushing into the big toe side of the foot. And as you're doing that, try to get the little toe side down by lifting your inner knee. See how that goes. Still cleaning your floor, just in a new place now. And this beautiful coordination of ankle, knee, and hip moving together. Do one or two more of those. And if you find you're bumping into your left leg, bottom left leg, take it a little longer underneath you. And you can see why I like that extra padding. So my left hip is padded. All right, we're going to change positions again. Now bring that tea towel up and put your inner knee on it. So again, you want to be on the edge there. And get that right knee on it and just slide it with the knee on there first, just the way it is. And I'm not rolling all the way down. I'm keeping this hip somewhat high, but just sliding my knee. And once you find the knee slide is comfortable for you, if you'd like, we can turn the hip into more of a position of what we call internal rotation. So if you lift the right foot off the ground, your thigh bone will roll inward, and you'll find instead of being on the inner knee, you're more almost on the top of the knee, above the kneecap. And do that slide again. I'm going to get my left leg out of the way. And how much pressure? Do you want to push down a lot, or are you barely pushing down? So finding always the greatest range of motion, but with the most pleasure. And did it feel better to push more in the inner knee or the top of the knee? Just taking a few more of those. And we've got one more we're going to do here on our side. So we're going to go back to this cloth underneath the whole foot. And now with the whole foot, we're going to go into hip extension. So definitely going to want to bring that left leg out of the way. What I find is that it's best if you bring it towards your body now, like you're curling up into a fetal ball with just the left leg as much as you can. And then take that right leg all the way back behind you into extension. And what typically happens is you might do more like what we did before with the bent knee first. Take it back and forward with more of a bent knee. So you're feeling your knee. Notice it's your knee joint that's bending as you come forward and straightening as you come back. But then how would it feel if next time your leg is in line with your hip and your torso, if you keep the knee straight, push the foot into the cloth and bring it forward. and back. So rather than bending the knee now, I'm moving from my hip. I'm getting hip extension coming back, which is a really important one, especially if we sit a lot. And then coming into a hip flexion as I run into the dog, coming forward, playing footsies with Milo, taking it back. And this one really feels good sometimes. But if you find it's too much, go back to just moving the knee bend, right? And little things like, are you pushing into the heel side of the foot or the big toe side of the foot? How much pressure? Think of your leg like a pendulum. And you're swinging that leg back and forth from the hip crease. Take a few more there. Notice when your leg goes back, you might feel some tightening through the muscles in the back line, your gluteal muscles, your hamstrings, maybe even your low back. But as you come forward, you get a nice little stretch in that area, unless you're running into a dog paw. And then we'll stop. So the next one we do, we're going to come on to our front side. So you're going to roll onto your abdomen. Maybe you don't need that pillow anymore. And you've already got the cloth underneath your foot. And just let the top of the foot come onto the cloth. Feel free to shake out your legs a little bit. Support your head however you'd like, wherever your arms want to be. And start by just pushing the top of the foot into the cloth and then releasing that. So I was starting with just creating sensation or creating muscular engagement, right? So we either push into or pull away from the ground to create muscle engagement. And in this case, we're pushing into with the top of the foot. Just noticing that. And then once you're pushing into the top of the foot, just the right amount, not too much, not too little, see if you can slide your leg slightly forward, slightly to the right side and back to the center, and then to the left side. And as you slide to the left side, you might need to move your left leg more to the left. So what we're doing here is as we slide to the right side, that's what we call abduction of the hip. And then you slide to the left side, and that's adduction of the hip. So as we go out to the right, you might feel some tightness in the outer right hip and a stretch in your inner right groin. And then you go the other way towards the left, and you're going to feel that stretch in your outer right hip and a little bit of a shortening in the groin area. Just a little back and forth there. Then if you want to play with it with the foot positioned differently, because it does feel different, roll your toes under. Watch again for cramping with this one. And it might be that you can just get on the top of the toes. If you can get all the way to more of the ball of the foot there, do that. And what might help you to do that is to push through your heel. So again, we're creating engagement by pushing through the heel, and then you can release it. Push through the heel and release. And then see if you can push enough and do that same slide out to the right side and to the left side. Again, your leg is like a pendulum, but now going side to side instead of front and back. Just sensing what muscles are tensing. So we're purposely recruiting muscles by pushing the foot into the cloth, just the right amount. And then those muscles are being asked to move the leg. Take that last one back and forth. We have one more on our front side. So you're going to take the cloth and you're going to bring it up underneath your knee. So the inner right knee once again. And now I'm going to get more of a groin stretch. You want to make sure you're to that right side of your mat. So you're on your wood floor, your slippery floor, tile, linoleum, doesn't matter. And then begin to slide the leg away from you and towards you. So if it's a lot, remember first, just that little bit of pressure. What does it feel like to gently push the inner knee into the cloth, and then slide it away and slide it towards you. I always feel a little bit like Spider-Man here, like you could be climbing up something, right? Stepping all the way up. Make sure there's enough padding underneath that inner knee. If that one goes well, when you're doing it at your knee, you can also try that one with your foot. So putting the big toe side of the foot on the tea towel. Again, that's part of the movement is moving that tea towel, and then you might extend your leg out, and then pull it out to the side, either still extended. So last time, again, it was a knee flexion when I had the towel underneath the knee. Now it's hip coming forward and out to the side and back, or you could push into your foot and bend your knee. There's no right or wrong. It's all about gaining mobility, and in gaining that mobility, you're staying present to feel it. Not too much, not too little. All right, we'll finish up that right side. And then roll back onto your backs in your starting position where we initially landed. Slow roll. Keep that towel handy. And coming back into that landing position, wherever you started, be present again as you land into all of the parts of your body that are touching the ground. As you breathe out, you can imagine your body feeling more supported, maybe even heavier into the ground. This is the magic moment where you can take yourself into both legs, from the toes through the ankles, ankles to the knees, and knees to the hips. And just sense any differences between the two legs. The right leg might feel tired or fatigued. It might feel lighter or heavier, or longer or shorter. This is a really important part of these embodied movements, or when we're using movement to heal, is coming into this space, the in-between space, and recognizing changes in our body. You might also notice if your breath has changed. Are you breathing deeper or shallower? Breathing deeper is always a good sign. Are you breathing to your abdomen or your chest? And take 5 more rounds of breath in silence, doing your best to be present in your right leg and your left leg, all the way through your hip. And just doing a comparison with kindness. We get a little mini shavasana because part of our superpower is the ability to be still and to feel sensation that's present even in stillness, particularly any changes that have taken place from the movements we did. So let's get ready to do our left leg. And starting with your left leg, you might bend both knees and slide so that the feet are on the ground. We'll do that little warm up first of the shortened version of the body prayer. So you can take your left foot up towards the sky, just to where it's comfortable. You might be able to see your toes, and then start to point and flex your ankle. Just these little movements to start, sensing the way your ankle connects your foot and your lower leg. You'll feel your calf, you'll feel your shin. And then next time you're in more of that position of pointed toes or plantar flexion, see if you can hold that and just play with moving your toes. You can squeeze your toes and spread your toes. And this full vision of what it feels like to be present in your left foot. And then you can go the opposite direction, draw the top of the foot towards your shin, so into the dorsiflexion. And same thing, just spread your toes and squeeze your toes. Noticing what you feel in your ankle, your lower leg, and in the foot itself, because the foot is often robbed of its ability to feel. We wear shoes and then we walk on flat surfaces all day. And our feet like adventures. They like to feel different surfaces. And then relax that. And then we're going to do that inversion and eversion. If your leg gets tired, you can always do this down here, by the way, too. But I like to be able to feel a little more up here. So think of the big toe side of your foot and draw it towards your inner calf. And then release that. And pinky toe side of the foot towards your outer calf. So you might notice as the big toe side comes to the inner calf, you're stretching your outer ankle, your outer shin. And then the opposite, you're stretching inner ankle, inner shin, as your pinky toe comes to the outer leg line. Just finding that comfortable range of motion. And then take the ankle all the way around in circles, like if you were drawing smiley faces with your ankle, with your toes. And oftentimes it's not just in the ankle we feel this. You might start to feel it in your knee, your hip. And keeping it comfortable, let the leg bones fall one into another and into your hip. So feel you've still got the stability of the pelvis being supported on the floor. And it's like the leg bones are just plugging into the pelvis with gravity as you maybe switch the direction of the ankle circles. And then we'll go into the knee. So dropping the lower leg down. This one, you want to try to keep the thigh 90 degrees from the floor, from your spine. So not back here and not way forward. Let the toes relax, the foot, the lower leg, and think of initiating this movement from your knee. You can even feel kneecap, back of knee. Where is that for you? And then extend up and slowly release down. Typically, I do this to the breath only because what it can help us to do is find a nice, easy pace. So we're not kicking a soccer ball, right? The slower you go, the more opportunity you have to experience the sensation, to be present in it. Going into that full extension of the knee. Notice how the quadriceps, the muscles in the front of the thigh have to engage and the hamstrings are stretching. Then coming down, just the opposite. You might feel a little stretch in the thigh, hamstrings shorten. And that's the way these muscles work in such a wonderful way in pairs to support each other. And we'll let that leg come down. Be present in the circumference of your hip. So feel the whole left hip all the way around, like you can see where the leg plugs into your pelvis. And begin to make slow circles, like you're drawing circles on the ceiling with your kneecap. And it's not the leg moving the hip. The lower leg and the foot are relaxed. Just enjoying you're exploring your range of motion in this leg, particularly in the hip. It might even be helpful to visualize the ball and socket joint. Feel the head of the femur in your hip. Is there one place you go to that it feels really connected? And is there somewhere else you go that it feels disconnected? How are you breathing? And then we'll take that left leg down. So we're ready to go to our tea towel. You may have to find it. But you're going to put your heel for sure. If the rest of your foot's on it too, that's all fine. But get that left heel on your tea towel. And start by just pushing. I'm going to take my right leg long so you might see better, but you can keep your right foot on the floor. Just pushing the heel into the ground. So we're recruiting muscles in the leg by pushing into gravity. That's how we recruit, is either pushing into. You'll notice if you lift it up, that's pulling away. You'd also be recruiting. But we're going to push into the tea towel with the heel. And notice how you feel that. And then find just the right amount of pressure pushing down and begin to wash your floor. And you can start with really small, slow circles. I need to go a little bit more towards the edge here. I can feel my foot bumping the edge. And explore your range of motion. So mostly here we're feeling the knee and the hip, but you're also going to feel your ankle. You're pushing into the heel. You can switch the direction of the circles. Watch for those calf cramps. They do happen. And it might feel different pushing into the heel, keeping the foot down versus lifting the toes off the ground and being more on the back of the heel. And then we'll go into the extension after you've circled a little bit. See if you can slide the leg out so it's fully extended as far as it'll go. You might even push through the bottom of the heel, push the back of the heel into the cloth, slide it back. And I'm going in a straight line right now, but you can go out to the side more, to the left side. You go more to the center of your body. Don't railroad track yourself into thinking you have to go in one space as you slide in and out with your heel. Be playful and explore. And then we're going to switch that just with where we're putting the pressure. So get the ball of the foot, so the front of the foot behind the toes into the tea towel, and just push a few times first. What does that feel like? To push it and release it. And this is an important part of the lesson too, is to feel the difference between muscles that are engaged because we want them to be, we're voluntarily engaging them, and muscles that release and relax. Because oftentimes when we have pain in muscles, it's because they're not releasing, they're not relaxing. And then once you're pushing in a little bit with the ball of the foot, you can make those circles. It might be more limited mobility when we're using the ball of the foot. Doesn't matter. It's about what you're feeling and staying present in that felt sense. Go out to the side a little more. You could try to go more into an extension. Can't go very far, but you can. And then we're going to do our side to side with this one. So remember, we did that invert and evert of the ankle. So feel your pinky toe side of your foot and the big toe side of your foot. Get as much of your foot on that tea towel as possible. So you'll see sometimes I need to move it around a little bit to get it just right. And then you're going to fall into the pinky toe side and maybe slide the thigh towards your body and away. And you can also fall onto the big toe side. So sometimes just that, fall onto the pinky toe side, fall onto the big toe side, and I'm not even sliding yet, right? That might be a nice place to start, feeling that pressure into big toe side, feeling pressure into little toe side, and then adding that movement if it feels okay. Just sliding the towel. You're cleaning the floors. That's all. So after we've moved from the ball of the foot, remember that invert and evert. So the evert is the pinky toe side. Just press into the pinky toe side and let your leg fall out to the left. Come back through the center of the foot. Feel your big toe side of your foot, and you can fall onto the big toe side. And here you might want to have as much of your foot as possible on that tea towel. And that's part of the work, is finding that. But just go pinky toe side, big toe side. You'll notice your leg falls towards the right leg. I'll get that out of the way there. And once you find that rocking back and forth, so it's not just a rocking, you're engaging by slightly pushing into one side of the foot, like you're pushing into the tea towel, and then you might find yourself pushing and making circles or dragging the leg up to your side. And you can go both ways. You can come onto the big toe side, drag the foot towards your hip or away. There's no set plan here. Explore. And your two legs might be very different in the way that they need to or want to move. It's like they're just swimming. How does the left leg want to swim right now? From the pinky toe side to the big toe side. And do a few more there. And then we'll pause. So now we'll be taking it over onto the right side of our body. You might want something underneath your head again. Take your tea towel, and we're going to put the tea towel under the big toe side of your left foot and scoot yourself towards that front edge of the mat so you've got lots of slippery floor to play on. Supporting your head. Just land first, right? Let yourself land on that right side. And you might want to move your right leg out of the way a little bit and start to push into the big toe side of the foot into the towel. And just feeling, where does that create muscular engagement? Just by pushing the big toe side down. And then push that side down and begin to drag the leg towards your head or towards your navel center and away. And I find that if this bottom leg is forward, I'm bumping into it, so I really have to straighten it out a little bit. Kind of keeping that left hip stacked on top of the right. So if you find your hip is way back or way forward, see if you can put it right on top of your right hip. And initially, as you're sliding and pushing into the big toe side, your inner knee might stay low to the ground. What happens if you try to lift the inner knee or think of trying to get onto the pinky toe side of your foot as you come towards your body and then back to the big toe side? So this is where we come into the psoas slide, as it's famously called. And it might be the outer hip glute burner for you, feeling those muscles there. Touch it wherever you can feel it. Connect with it by putting your hand there. These are your fine tuning forks for your nervous system. Put them on there. And doing a few more of those slides there. And we feel ourselves, we're taking our hip into external rotation, rotating it away from the center of the body. I could do this one all day, especially on this side. But we're going to switch. So now we'll take the tea towel and put it underneath your inner knee. And you might find your left hip falls a little bit more forward. That's okay. And start to slide it back and forth just a little bit first. Or first, just push the knee down and release. What happens when you push that inner knee into the tea towel? Right? Feel that. And then push and slide. So sometimes if we do both right away, it's a little bit much. Just the right amount of pressure and an easeful slide. And then we can take this one more into an internal rotation of the hip just by lifting the foot up away from the floor. So lift that big toe side, and instead of being more on the inner knee with the tea towel, you'll feel like you're getting the upper kneecap onto the tea towel. Push down there and slide it a little bit. Sense the movement, particularly in your hip. Rest the body supported and relaxed. And at this point, your floors are getting really clean. Take a few more there, that internal rotation. You might even come all the way up on the top of the knee. I like to explore that a little bit. Then relax. We're going to go into the flexion extension of the hip. So now the foot goes back on the tea towel. And you can see if you can. So if we start with the knee bend, remember that the knee bend can take us out to the side too and take us into extension behind us, but that's with the knee bend. So do that with the knee bend a few times. Oh, and I almost forgot that right leg. It's probably going to be getting in the way. So I like to draw it up towards my body a little bit to get it out of the way. So you can go back and forth with a knee bend. Nothing wrong with that. But if we want to feel more of a stretch through the front of our thigh and our hip flexors, then I'll encourage you to gotta fix my mic, I'm laying on it. Take the leg straight out off the hip. So straighten the knee, straighten the hip. Keep the knee in that position of what we call extension, and then slide the leg forward and back And just the right amount of pushing that inner side of the left foot into the ground. How far can you go back? Feel that stretch through the inner hip crease there, coming forward. And that coordination of the thigh muscles. When the front of the thigh stretches in the back and the back of the thigh engages, and then coming forward, hamstrings get a little stretch there. And you also may notice a difference between pushing into the heel of your foot more than your toes. Check in with your breath. Nice, smooth, comfortable breath. Full inhalation, complete exhalation. So it's telling your body, your nervous system, that this is safe, it's comfortable, it's valuable. And we'll stop. The last position we do for that left leg is on our front side. Take your time rolling over. Hopefully you're still awake. And we'll start where the right where the tea towel is under the foot, but you can take it to the top of the foot. And I just find this so good for the feet anyhow to feel. Like, let your feet feel around, right? Let them root around and find that towel. And once your foot's on there, you can shake out your hips, relax your upper body, and start by just creating that force of pushing the top of the foot in and releasing. Push the top of the foot into the towel. Notice how you feel engagement, maybe through the back of the hamstrings and the glutes. And is it just the left side? Because the right side should be relaxed now on holiday. And then you can push in and go out to the left side, come back to the center, and go to the right side. Which, going to the right side, you might need to move your right leg out of the way to the right a little bit more. So we go into a abduction out to the side, cross the center line, and a deduction, we go over to the right. But more from a standpoint of sensing what's going on in your muscles. When do you feel your muscles shorten, and when do you feel them lengthen, or what we say, putting tension on them? So as your leg goes to the right, you might feel the tension that's put in the outer left hip and the compression in the inner thigh. And as your leg goes out to the left, there's compression in your outer hip and some tension in your inner thigh and your groin area. Keeping that appropriate. Moving slow. And then you can keep the foot this way, or just switch it around, roll the toes under, and take a few moments here to roll the toes under and push the ball mount into the tea towel. Push your heel away from your body. Notice how the kneecap will lift up, and that's how we're engaging that leg. Feel the thigh bone draw up into the hip. And then maybe keeping just the right amount of that engagement, you go into that out to the left side and across to the right side once again. Sweeping your floors clean. And comfort in our body does not have anything to do with needing a huge, great range of motion. You know, you see a lot of people doing yoga that are actually hypermobile, they're hyper flexible. It doesn't mean it equals comfort. So what you want to find is as much mobility as you can, but in a comfortable way, in a pleasant way. And then the last one on this side, you can make sure you're all the way to the left side of the mat. Use your talented toes and foot to bring that tea towel up, and then your hands, and then put the tea towel underneath your inner left knee. Relax the foot. You'll feel a little bit like a frog here, perhaps, and that's what we'll do. Think frog, your inner Spider-Man. Slide the knee away and pull it towards you. So really much more sensation perhaps in the hip and the knee, the front of the hip. We're coming into that hip flexion and then extending a little bit. And if it's too much to move, remember just the push down, release, right? That's where we start. Being able to read those smaller sensations, pushing the inner knee down and then releasing it, but also the slide till I fall off my tea towel. You have to have enough pressure to actually bring the towel without so much pressure that the towel gets stuck. And you can continue here. You can play with the leg position, like lifting it up again. Or the other thing we did on the other side is taking that towel back to the foot once again. And then instead of bending in and out of the knee, take the leg into more of a straight position and take it all the way out to the side and all the way back. So toes are turned out. You're on the big toe side of the foot. And maybe you need to do a little bend as you come out there. You're welcome to do that. Always just an exploration. Your breath and your watching your thoughts will tell you if it's safe, if it's valuable and beneficial to you. It's not just what we feel, it's what we say to ourselves. And then back to the center. Relaxing. Once again, we're going to be coming onto the back body. And you can set your tea towel aside, have some tea with it later. And I encourage you to extend your legs, but what I'm going to do, you may want to keep something underneath your head as well, but I would really love to see you, if I could see you, roll something up and put it underneath your knees or your thighs so your legs could be extended, but they're supported and completely relaxed. The other thing you can do is just kind of create more of a pillow by doubling up your mat or your blanket here. See if you can find a space where your legs can jelly roll a little bit and jiggle. And land once again. Land through your legs and your arms. Feel from the fingertips to the shoulder blades, releasing into the ground. From the toes to the hips, releasing into the ground. So from the furthest reaches of our brain and our spine, all the way out to the periphery, the fingers and toes. We just let them land, and you can time it with your exhalation. You think of your body, your torso, like a balloon. The breathing in is an uplifting space of levity. You can feel your body fill, creating spaciousness. And the breathing out is the coming back in and home. We empty and we release. As the breath leaves the body, there's a heaviness towards the floor. Inhalation is up and out. Exhalation in and down. If you feel you've landed in your body, take a moment just to locate yourself from the space of the toes, soles of the feet and tops of the feet. Sense your right and left ankle. Shins in the front of the low leg, calves in the back. Let your awareness go all the way around your knees, the kneecaps, the outer sides of the knees, the backs of the knees, the inner knees. Imagine you can breathe into your thighs, fronts of the thighs and the backs of the thighs. And feel where the backs of the thighs are completely supported by the ground. Feel yourself through the outer hips, front of the pelvis, that soft space below the navel center. Maybe you can even feel the low abdomen moving with your breath. comfort of knowing that even in the stillness, there's this pleasurable movement of the body with the breath. Come into the back of the pelvis. Notice the buttocks completely supported. And the low back, allowing it to have its natural curve. And let your mind's eye just take a moment to come all the way up your spine, as if you could walk up each vertebrae of your spine with your mind's eye, touching each muscle and nerve, all the way through the back of the neck and the base of the skull. Once you get into your head, be in your head. I encourage you, be in your headspace and create some sort of affirmation, some sort of mantra, something you want to tell yourself, particularly to your feet and your legs. And create that image of that affirmation or mantra in your mind's eye. Like you could put it up on a big screen. Every time you breathe in, see that mantra, that affirmation. As you breathe that out, send it down the spine into the hips. And I'll feel where it separates into each leg, goes all the way out the toes. So we breathe in, create this image of comfort, relaxation. Might be health or steadiness, whatever it is that you need. And breathe out, send it through the spinal column, into each of the hips. And allow it to flow all the way down the legs and out the toes. Take 5 more rounds of breath. Staying present in your affirmation. Change the channel in your mind movie to a space of vibrancy and health, aliveness. Take a big breath in, and as you breathe out, send that down through the spine and into the pelvis and all the way to the legs so that you feel like you're ready to start wiggling your toes. Playfully wiggle your toes. Do so in a way that maybe even makes you want to turn the corners of your mouth into a smile. Take another breath in, bringing that vibrant energy into your body, and then breathe it into your ankles. And just make some ankle rolls or side to side. Move your ankles in any way that feels healthy, comfortable, satisfying, awakening. Breathing in again. And as you breathe out, send it into your knees. And move your knees in any way. You can just bend them a little bit, like basketballs, like you're dribbling the backs of the knees. You might actually slide your heels. It's not quite as easy without your tea towel, but you can bend in and out of your knees that way. Thank you, beautiful knees. And then legs straight, perhaps to start, but feel your hips. Breathe in that beautiful energy of awareness and movement and potential, and breathe it into the hips. And you can start by just maybe rocking your hips side to side, squeezing your butt cheeks, one and then the other. But you could also slide your legs in and with your feet on the ground. Play with rocking your pelvis in any way, lifting one hip and the other. If you're used to arch and curl in the somatic movement, you can arch and curl your pelvis. Do the clock face movement. If you don't know that, I've got lots of videos on it. But be playful, let your pelvis just move around. And then pause for a moment. Take a big full body yawn. Gather yourself in that yawn. Stretch your arms and your legs. Be as big as you can. Tighten all of the muscles, not just your legs, but in your arms. Feel your back arch. Take another breath in. Hold that tightness. And when you're ready, last breath in. And as you breathe out through your mouth. Sigh out your mouth, make noise, and let everything go. Just land one last time. Take your time. You can roll to one side before coming up to seated position. So these practices are reminders that our true nature is both a space where we are awakened and aware, but also relaxed. And I hope that this practice helped you to feel a little bit of that in your body. If so, please share in the comments. And either way, thank you to all my Patreons who help to keep these videos coming every Saturday. And to all of you who subscribe, remember to subscribe. Peace, joy, love, and light.